So it has been 10 years, not since the MCU started, but since the last Zombieland movie came out.
That's what we're talking about 99% of the time. But we're talking about Zombieland. We're talking about Zombieland 2 right now. If you remember, Zombieland 1 had like a bunch of rules, like Jesse Eisenberg had all these rules. We have a rule. Please subscribe to GameSpot Universe for more stuff about the stuff that you like.
More stuff about the stuff that you like. Great. Nailed it.
It's time to nut up or shut up.
So Zombieland Double Tap is the sequel to Zombieland, where we've got a return from all of the characters, all 4 of the characters. We have Jesse Eisenberg as Columbus, Woody Harrelson as Tallahassee. It took me a second to get there. Abigail Breslin as Little Rock, and Emma Stone as Wichita.
Nailed it.
Yes. And they have all come back, and it has been not quite 10 years in universe.
It is ambiguous how much time has passed. It is at most 10 years, at least
like
5 years.
Yeah.
Right, because Little Rock was
has
about
grown up,
12 years old in the original,
Right.
and she is now kind of an adult person / a teenager. So I think my headcanon is 5 years.
Yeah, it's around, like 5 to 7 is probably a good safe bet for how long that has been, since the last one.
So this crew has been together for at least 5 years.
Yeah.
And man, stuff has happened, and more stuff will happen. Hijinks, crazy things.
Tons of hijinks. It's very much like they've kind of, you're left to assume when the movie opens that they've, like maintained their cute little found family unit, and
the whole time.
And
then of course we pick up with them once again in the moment when it all falls apart somehow.
So,
we'll get into that, but here's a spoiler warning. If you haven't seen Zombieland 2 and you care about spoilers, go away, watch it,
come back later.
And then come back. Okay, so at the beginning of the movie, the 4 characters that we know from the original set up shop in the White House, which is, it's funny, it's good.
It's very funny.
It's extremely funny. They, they're hanging out in the Oval Office. Who becomes president? They elect
Tallahassee.
Immediately Tallahassee elects himself president.
Yeah.
And it's like the whole first act of the movie is basically them hanging out in the White House, and it's exactly what I wanted from this movie.
Yeah, it's really, really funny. And so everything kind of comes crashing down abruptly when you learn that Columbus and Wichita have kind of had their like off and on romance from the first one that was
mostly on. I feel like it's mostly on.
So they've had this going on for 5 to 7, maybe even 10 years.
Some amount. It is a long time.
It's a
long relationship.
So they have been in a committed relationship for that long, and then Columbus decides to ruin everything by proposing to Wichita with the Hope Diamond.
I feel like marriage in the apocalypse is kind of
right.
What's the point?
Yeah, like were they gonna go find a lawyer? Or
like you're gonna go down to like
the courthouse,
demolished courthouse somewhere filled with, and get like a zombie to like officiate for you.
Yeah,
it's like, I don't get it.
So,
just you're together.
Right. So, but
freaking Columbus, man.
He gets the Hope Diamond, and it's a big gesture or whatever.
I had to Google what the Hope Diamond is.
I know, and I shamed you for it. The Hope Diamond is a huge diamond. It's also got like a curse on it.
Why would I know anything about jewels?
Go to a museum.
I don't know one famous jewel.
Well,
I
know
one now.
Yeah, the Hope
name
Diamond.
Another one. Well, the crown jewels.
Yeah, the crown jewels they stole those at Ocean's 8. Remember?
Two famous jewels.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I remember.
So Columbus proposes to Wichita, and Wichita freaks out, which it kind of didn't make a ton of sense if they've been in the relationship for so long.
Right. It was like her character hasn't changed. There's been no development between films.
Right. No evolution at all.
At the beginning, she had her character development in the first movie.
Right. Yeah.
And decided to, that family was rad or whatever.
Yeah.
And they committed to each other, and now they've been together for 5 years, and so this like mostly meaningless gesture of getting married is like suddenly she just reverts.
Yeah, immediately panics, and like
5 years of this relationship just like goes
Little
out
Rock
the window.
Bail overnight. They do the leaving in the dead of night.
Well, because Little Rock is having her own troubles with where Woody Harrelson has like he's like this weird father figure.
Yeah.
If you put now Woody Harrelson and 2009 Woody Harrelson next to each other, now Woody Harrelson does look older, but he already looked old in the first one. So like, I feel like they didn't need to turn him into this weird dad character.
Yeah, he's like an overbearing, like that's the joke, is that like Tallahassee has like adopted Little Rock as like his like pet project. And
yeah,
so
it's funny.
It's funny to a point, and then it kind of doesn't doesn't stay
make
funny,
sense a
and
lot,
it doesn't make a ton of sense.
We'll get into that.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Wichita and Little Rock bail.
Right.
They leave a note.
A very bad note, which is kind of a running gag.
Yeah.
Which, whatever.
And then the rest of the movie is kind of like a series of loosely connected scenes.
Right.
Where they meet Madison in the mall.
Please forgive me! It's fake fur!
Oh my God! I'm so sorry. I thought you were a.
You thought I was a zombie?
Sorry. Hi. I'm Columbus.
Madison.
And then they're trying to catch up with Little Rock, and basically like there's a fight on an RV that doesn't matter, and then there's like a long stay at this Elvis hotel
Right.
that also doesn't matter, and then like there's funny stuff that happens
Yeah.
along the way, and we'll talk about it. But like you could take any of these sequences out of the movie.
Yeah, they're
and
like
just
little 15-minute episodes.
skip over them.
Yeah, and it doesn't really make that much sense.
It feels like maybe leftovers from when Zombieland was like a TV show originally.
Right, yeah, it definitely has that like episodic
And they,
feeling.
and I talked to the writers and they wrote this script or the first draft of it literally a decade ago. So,
Yeah, you can
and
kinda
it-
tell
It
at points,
shows,
yeah.
Anyway, the climax happens at Babylon, which
Right.
is like this
It's like fake Coachella.
weird
like it's this,
hippie
like,
commune,
yeah,
which
like,
I don't really get.
No, it was like this hippie commune that it's like a high-rise building that people have taken over and they're pacifists, so they melt down guns and make like peace sign necklaces, which is kind of funny, I guess. But then like
Ringing endorsement.
yeah, but like they have this like high rise that is like this pacifist commune that
Yeah.
they end up at, and of course everything goes wrong because
Well, the whole final act is this giant CG zombie fight that is
doesn't look
just,
good.
It's just, yeah.
it's not the practical zombies when they show up are really good. Like they're funny and they're interesting, and all of the CG zombies are not good.
So did
in
you?
this
We
movie.
didn't talk. Did you like this movie?
I didn't hate this movie. I definitely wasn't like bored watching it.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna watch a Zombieland, I would just stick with the first one. I mean, I recently rewatched the first one and it still holds up.
The first one holds up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and it's
the
still
first one is
funny.
still really good.
The second one, it doesn't really feel like it does anything for me.
To
So.
me, there's a lot of big laughs in this movie.
Sure.
There's also a lot of stuff that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
I really feel like you can divide the entire movie into every scene, everything in the movie is
Right.
two categories. It's either a funny joke
Yep.
or it's something that doesn't make sense.
Yes, absolutely. I would
So-
100% agree with that.
So that's how we're gonna do the rest of this video. First,
Yeah.
we're gonna talk about the funny jokes
yeah.
first. So let's talk about the rules. Jesse Eisenberg's character has all these rules from the
Right.
beginning, and in the first movie, he was writing down in his notebook, he wrote down rule number 32, which I don't remember what it was.
Right.
But he has at least, I think, twice that number of rules.
Yeah, he has like 70
He's up
something
to,
now.
He's up
yeah.
to 70 something rules.
I don't love their chances.
Yeah, and they ignored Rule 52. Don't be afraid to ask for help.
Which is funny, and like Jesse Eisenberg, he is still the narrator. He was the narrator in Zombieland 1, he's the narrator
Yeah, he's
here.
doing the voiceover.
It's still very, very funny, and like he still has the same sort of like very dry, like nerdy delivery of all of his rules, and like they're genuinely very funny.
Yeah, that's one thing that like you can't fault this movie for is like the four main actors are still very good.
Yes, they're all extremely charming.
I think Abigail is maybe the weak link, but she's also not in it as
She's
much
not in it
because
as
she
much,
gets
no.
separated from them immediately,
Right.
and then there's like small, short like vignette scenes where it goes back to her
Yeah.
traveling with this idiot character Berkeley, who's like
yeah.
a very that's a not funny joke.
Yeah,
I think I don't get it.
But yeah, no, Abigail Breslin's character, like Little Rock has had the biggest physical transformation, obviously, because she grew up, and so she's supposed to have had the biggest like personality change arounds, and she's like
Right, she wants to
teen
leave the
now.
nest, but it's like,
And, like, it
would that
doesn't-
really apply in the zombie
Right,
apocalypse? Like,
yeah.
would you feel
like, would you want to like go be a normal teenager when your entire life has been spent
right? Like,
like
it's
fighting zombies?
It's as if they are having the normal arc of like a teenager.
Right.
Like, she wants to like. She would like if this was a normal movie, she would like get her driver's license.
Right, exactly. Like
Yeah.
that's what it is.
It's like that doesn't.
it doesn't apply. It doesn't work.
But that's it's a comedy first, and it's a zombie movie like distant second.
Yeah.
Very far, like you can barely see it in
Yeah.
the distance, whereas the first one was a zombie comedy.
Right.
So I feel like it's almost shifted genres.
Yeah, it absolutely has. But like the rules still work. All the characters still work really well. I mean, you really liked Madison.
Yeah, let's talk about Madison as in the category of jokes that worked.
Yeah.
And I was worried you know, when they introduced her, because like the dumb blonde stereotype,
Right.
it's like very tropey and could easily be, you know, like punching down
Right.
and just mean and not pleasant. And I feel like it works with her for two reasons. One is that Zoe Deutsch is so charming.
She is extremely charming. I will give her that.
Facial expressions and like her eyebrows move in crazy ways,
Yeah.
and she just like totally sells it.
This is Madison. Madison Tallahassee.
Is this your dad?
Slightly older, better looking friend.
Yeah.
You live here?
No Paul Blart. I live in the freezer in Pinkberry. It keeps the zombies out, though it is awfully chilly.
And then the other reason is I think that she's not just a punching bag for the rest of the characters.
Right.
Like she occasionally, very occasionally, sticks up for herself, like dishes it back, like in the moment when she like says one sarcastic thing and it throws everyone off guard. They're like, was that sarcasm? And
That
she's
was
like,
very cute. Like I wasn't as sold on her as you were, but like she definitely is a funny part of the movie. It also kind of felt like I went into the movie expecting a zombie comedy and not a comedy with occasional zombies. And so the logic of how this like dumb blonde stereotype was supposed to have like survived in a mall freezer and like,
Right,
it's funny. And
Exactly.
like, how?
It's like it's a zombie movie until they need to break the rules of a zombie
Right.
movie to make a joke. Like
Yeah.
her surviving is a good gag, but it like completely
It doesn't make any sense if you like are looking at it from like an actual like zombie movie,
And
like
it
any
totally-
genre convention in the zombie movie.
it totally invalidates all of Columbus's rules, which
Right.
arguably is like one of the main through
Right,
lines of
yeah.
the entire series.
Like you can just kind of luck into surviving
right
for
because she
7
lived
years or
because she
whatever.
lived in a freezer and zombies don't like the cold or
I
something.
guess I don't know.
I don't know,
Like
man.
she's had no weapons. She, like I guess
Right.
she's like lived in a Pinkberry and like
She's never like when they have that big fight, she like can't.
she's like
she,
never
pepper sprays
encountered
one zombie.
Yeah. Which like I mean it's fine. It's funny in the moment until you start thinking about it a little harder and then you're like,
I just like her as a character and like
Yes.
legitimately a lot of her stuff like made me laugh.
The old man is so tiny.
Can you see that?
What's his name? You're so tiny. No, you're not. No, you are. No, you're not. No, you are. No, you're not. No, you are. No, you're not. Tiny, big, tiny.
She is adorable.
She's funny. And then like there's doppelgangers that show up like
Oh
when
man, okay.
Thomas
so,
Middleditch and Luke Wilson
yes,
like
that
swing
whole
in.
scene is like right in the middle of the movie.
Right.
Completely. It doesn't make sense,
It
but
makes
it's
no sense,
so
but it's
funny.
very, very funny.
It's extremely Thomas Middleditch
is
and
Flagstaff
and Jesse.
and-
Yeah.
So like Jesse Eisenberg and Thomas Middleditch are the same character, and then Luke Wilson and Woody Harrelson are the same character.
Right, and watching both duos play off each other,
Right.
where it's definitely like a dick measuring contest
Oh,
between
100%.
Woody Harrelson and
And
Luke Wilson.
it's also kind
because
of
they're
like-
fighting over Rosario Dawson
Yes.
too, who's there.
Yeah, she lives in this hotel, but it's very much that gag of like a dog seeing itself in the mirror and being like, what is that other dog doing here? Like they don't want to acknowledge that they're the same person. Like it's
good.
very funny.
Yeah, but then Thomas Middleditch and Jesse Eisenberg playing off each other is like highlight of the movie.
oh, it's
for
so
me. Like,
funny.
Oh God, those are T800s, or at the very least T700s.
There actually was no T700. Yeah, T800's the first model.
This is great having two of you.
Yeah.
When they're talking about the rules, like, oh, like you have a rule? Oh, I have a rule that's similar. Oh, but
'Cause
yours is better. It's not a
yeah.
competition, but like you
It
have
is
another
a
rule.
competition,
Like,
yeah, and like Thomas Middleditch's Flagstaff's rules are commandments, and so when they
Right.
come in, like they're all CGI'd in as like black text or whatever. His have like Roman numerals. And, like, it's funny. It's very funny.
Right, and Jesse Eisenberg has like limber up, and
Yeah.
Thomas Middleditch has like stay spry. I don't
Yeah,
remember what it is,
like
but it's
stay limber or something.
it's like,
they're
oh,
all,
mine's
like,
number
dumb.
36. Oh,
Yeah.
mine's number 72. Like,
Yeah, it's really dumb,
It's
but
really
It
good.
works. It
Yeah.
works in that moment, and like that
and
is.
then they immediately get killed. Like they like everything else in the movie. Like pretty much every good gag lasts like one scene, and then
right,
they move
and then
on to the next
it's
thing.
gone.
And it's gone.
Yeah, it doesn't make any like the way that they get killed too. It like doesn't like they go out and like fight a bunch of zombies, and then like come back and like, oh no, we got bit. And it's
Like they're
but,
both very bad at fighting
like you've
zombies.
been doing this for like
They have
7
the
years.
rules,
Like,
and
come on.
they're just showing off.
Yeah, and so they don't make it. And then it turns into, of course, you have the doppelgangers and they have to fight their doppelgangers, and like that.
That whole scene is really good too, though.
That
scene is super fun.
Yes, and it works too because it's not so bogged down with CG and whatnot. Like it's it's zombie Luke
Right,
Wilson
it's
and
like
zombie
it's
Thomas
pretty
Middleditch.
much it's the 6 of them.
Yes.
It's Rosario Dawson, Emma Stone, and then the 4.
Yeah, and then the 4 doppelgangers.
Yeah.
Like all fighting each other, and it's funny. It works.
And it's like there's like some going on with the camera.
It's
like
very Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
For a while.
And there's like long takes where the camera is following them from room to room.
Yes.
There's a lot of choreography happening. It's impressive and it's fun, and I think the highlight of the movie.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely the most fun part of the movie to watch.
But that's like the halfway mark, and then there's a whole
There's a
rest
whole
of the
other
movie.
act
Yeah.
that happens after that, and it doesn't really make a lot of sense.
So let's talk about things that didn't make sense.
Yeah.
I want to talk about Madison disappearing at the end of the first
Right.
act.
Yeah. I don't know if
She's eating
like,
trail mix.
Yes.
And
they're in a car.
very obviously having an allergic reaction.
Yes, like her eyes get all swollen up and she starts throwing up.
Right, and I literally leaned over to you and went, she's having an allergic reaction.
Yeah, and I
It's
was like,
not-
yeah,
she's
of
not
course.
turning into a zombie.
No.
When did she never got bit. We
Yeah.
just watched this whole fight scene.
Yeah.
And then Columbus takes her out in the woods and shoots her.
Right.
And then she's just gone for the entire middle act of the film.
Right, until she suddenly like shows back up and is like, oh, just kidding, I'm allergic to nuts.
So what was the point of having
I don't know, like
her leave?
I feel like, maybe Zoe Deutch had like a scheduling conflict or something.
They just
like,
had to shoot some of it.
Yeah, they like needed to get her out of it because it like served
Yeah.
no purpose, and then there's no, like we don't even get like a cutaway of like, oh, here's what happened to Madison after she was in the, the woods. Like here's like she.
How did she survive? Was there
Yeah.
an EpiPen in her purse?
Like,
Because they threw her purse out the window of the car.
But yeah, she had nothing else.
She was,
had
like,
no
vomiting
weapons.
blood.
Yeah, and like it doesn't. They literally had to like take her out of the movie for a huge portion of it, and then bring her back.
Maybe
for
there were
no
just too
discernible reason.
many characters.
I don't know. Yeah.
I feel like there's. I think I may have said this already, but there's huge chunks of this movie that if you took them out and just closed it and
yeah.
just edited it back together, you would
have no
never
idea.
know like the entire section where Tallahassee hates the minivan. And so they see like a giant luxury RV
Right.
off the highway. They go to get it. They have a long fight scene. It's funny, it's a good scene, but then they immediately
Like 2 seconds after they get in the RV.
they immediately f up the tires and then just wind up back in the van.
yeah,
and
back in the
literally the
minivan.
next scene is they're just driving again, and
Right.
and Madison has her allergic reaction. And I was like, if you just took from
that entire fight scene.
if you just took from right before
Right.
they saw the RV to right after, you would never know that there was an entire
No.
long scene missing.
It doesn't. Yeah. There's no point to like any of it. Which like it kind of looks for 1 second in that RV fight scene. It's like, oh, they're very, very good at killing zombies, and like that's kind of fun. But then you never like
It needs
that
to have
never
impact
comes up
on the
again.
rest of the
Yeah.
movie, though. Like,
Right. Exactly.
I think it's good and important to show like they've gotten really good at killing
Right.
zombies. But like we also saw that in the opening montage when they were
Exactly,
getting to the
yeah.
like
And it doesn't pay off because like in the final fight when they finally get to this Coachella Babylon place, the fight is not like a coordinated cool attack at all. Like it's just a big like zombie CGI
right,
like rampage.
They set up these fireworks to like
Yeah, it's like a Home Alone sequence.
but
with
what
zombies.
they didn't have a plan once they blew them up, but
Yeah.
there was like clearly a lot of zombies and they had no plan after that.
No.
They literally are huddled under this thing and they're like, well, guess we're gonna die now.
Yeah,
And
so like
that's
we
it.
had this whole RV fight scene to being like, we're really good at this.
And then Rosario
Except
Dawson
for when we're
shows
not.
up. How did
Yeah.
she even know they were there? In
the
this monster
geography of
truck?
this of like Zombieland just doesn't make much sense. Like how like information gets like there's no world building. I guess.
Well,
is what I'll say.
let's talk about that because
Yeah.
I talked to the writers and I talked to Ruben, the director, and I was asking like, how do you balance the like the comedy and needing to find all these jokes
Right.
while also like trying to have a coherent zombie world? And they were like, well, pretty much the comedy comes first.
Right, yeah.
But there are little nods, right? There's little nods. Like they have a line about how it's hard to find cars that work now.
Yeah.
Because the battery's been sitting there for years.
Yeah. Except for it doesn't ever like they have the line about it, but like any car that they try is full of gas
Well-
and it totally works and it's fine.
Well, the thing is, he's trying to find a better car than the van, and they
Right.
do have a hard time. But then they also have the nod about, as long as rain keeps falling, the dams will keep working.
Right, so,
and
like, they
power
have
will be
electricity,
generated, which
yeah.
I'm not sure how well that holds up.
I feel like,
I don't know.
nuclear reactors would have melted down like a while ago. So
Yeah,
like,
there
that
would
would
be
have been
large scale ecological disasters. But at the same time, like huge, whenever they need, like let's talk about the Hound Dog Hotel, this like this Elvis museum / hotel.
Yeah.
First of all, in my complaint of like entire sequences not mattering, like they drive up to Graceland and it's destroyed, and then they drive 2 minutes down the street and they find what is effectively this exact same thing.
Right. It's all of the set trappings of like a Graceland in a location that's not Graceland.
What is the point? If you want to have a scene where Woody Harrelson goes into this place and finds all this Elvis crap,
right,
and is amazed by it,
why did we stop by Graceland to show Graceland blown up?
Why?
Yeah.
What is the purpose?
Yeah.
It doesn't.
There's a lot, it doesn't make, there's a bunch of just very weird choices. Like the entire setup of Babylon is like a high-rise, like they've established this like thriving community in a high-rise, which like you would think is effectively like the safest place.
That's why they do it, is because it's safe. So why are they worried that zombies are coming now?
Right,
like, is this the first time they've ever used fireworks? They would have had this problem before now.
Yeah, and like
why is all the power is on, like that, the Hound Dog Hotel, like it's just, everything is pristine. Like Rosario Dawson is like in there dusting all the display cases like
for 7 years.
It's funny, but it's like, I wanted like another zombie comedy.
Right.
And again, what I got is a comedy with a bunch of jokes that like slowly dismantle any world building that might exist until it's like,
it's just a bunch, it's just a weird loose,
it's just
like,
a sequence of events,
Yeah, it's just a very like loosely connected gags, which like is fine sometimes, but like, I mean, it doesn't work that well.
There are a lot of moments where I was like like I was laughing out loud.
Yeah.
But then ultimately, I feel like the whole third act with the entire fight at Babylon, like Abigail, like Little Rock just like is obsessed with this idiot guy, Berkeley, and then like when the plot doesn't need her to be obsessed with him anymore, she just goes, actually, you suck, I'm good.
Like,
it's like, what? And then we brush over that so quickly
fast,
so that we can get to this like big CGI zombie fight.
Yeah, and
with the monster truck, which was radical, like, fine.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, they like also establish, they do this very funny thing where they like, oh, zombies have evolved. So like there are different types of zombies that exist in this world. And some of them are really dumb and some of them are really smart. And then there's
the homers
also,
are good.
Yeah,
that's
like,
a good joke.
The homers are like ones that just kind of like, oh, they'll like attack statues because they think the statues are people. And like, that's funny.
Just chase butterflies.
Yeah, and so then there's, then there's also, like I don't remember.
It's like ninjas.
Yeah, like there are like silent ones and there are really smart ones, and then there are new ones.
The Hawkings.
Hawkings are the smart ones, and then the new ones are the T-800s, which they just like don't die, and so they have to like shoot them a lot.
But it never really matters.
It never really matters
because you could just drive a monster truck into them.
Exactly,
and then
so,
they
like,
do die. So.
Yeah, apparently they don't die for any other reason. Aside from getting hit by
they felt that like the writers felt that they needed to have the zombies evolve so that you're not just fighting the same zombies from a decade ago. And just like we've been saying, like they mine some good jokes from that. But then in terms of the world and the story and the characters, none of it matters.
None of it matters at all, which is a kind of a bummer when you want like a zombie movie.
I feel like the first movie had
stakes.
I feel like the first movie had one coherent through line where these characters kind of didn't trust each other, were trying to stick together, and they had their goals, right? Like Columbus wanted to find someone, he wanted to connect with somebody. Little Rock and Wichita wanted to get to Pacific Playland on the West Coast.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
The movie went somewhere coherent. And this movie just doesn't. It's this sequence of disconnected. It feels it feels circular. It feels like the things that happen aren't leading anywhere.
Right.
Besides this big CGI zombie fight to defend this place that doesn't need defending, that the characters have no attachment to, and that they're immediately gonna leave, and which they do. They just leave.
They leave immediately.
Why don't you just leave? Let's talk about Easter eggs.
What were your favorites?
Well, we got to talk about the after credit scene, which is Bill Murray. He's back. I kind of wish they hadn't done that whole trailer where they ruined that entire thing, because then I'm waiting the entire movie like, how are they going to get into this?
Yeah.
And then the credits start rolling, and I was like,
Did they just cut it?
Happened to Bill Murray.
Yeah.
And then it's Columbus going, oh, I feel really bad about killing Bill Murray, which somehow Rosario Dawson knew about. Like, how would anyone have known about? Whatever.
The social networks in Zombieland are very good despite no internet.
So he goes, to make it up for you, let's go all the way back to when the apocalypse happened.
Right.
And it's a fake press junket for Garfield 3 Flabby Tabby, which I had to Google.
Extremely funny.
It's not a real movie.
Thing.
I had to, wasn't sure.
Yeah, it's very, very funny. So it's Bill Murray like interacting with all of these like actual members of the press.
Yeah, there were some people I know in there.
Yeah, about like Flabby Tabby, and it's as entertainment reporters who have been to junkets, who have sat through this sort of thing, extremely funny.
I felt personally attacked.
Yeah, there was a couple moments where like they're there's the one where they're sitting in the junket and they're like, okay, please keep all questions on topic.
Right, which is another one of my favorite Easter eggs, because I feel like, stay with me, I feel like that was a little nod to the Reddit AMA that Ask Me Anything. I didn't know that this
happened until you told me.
The Reddit AMA that Woody Harrelson did years ago, where an AMA is supposed to be Ask Me Anything, and instead Woody Harrelson or somebody representing Woody Harrelson showed up and responded to almost every question with the answer, let's try to keep this on topic and only discuss Rampart, which is the movie that Woody was
trying to promote.
It was an earlier time in Reddit history. People didn't necessarily know. I feel like somebody wasn't properly prepared for that. And now the internet will never let him forget.
No.
So I feel like in this movie specifically, to have somebody say, let's try to keep our questions on topic, please, is like, I was like,
yeah. If you remember in the first Zombieland, Woody Harrelson is obsessed with Twinkies.
Yeah, and then they don't mention it ever in this movie. It's
no,
never brought up a single time.
Yeah, it never comes up.
Which is, I feel like that's fine though.
Yeah.
Because they don't look like what this movie avoids is just desperately trying to rehash the jokes from the first movie, which is, that's like the Anchorman 2s of the world. Like, there's easily a world in which like this follow-up to a decade-old comedy feels more like that, where they're just like so desperate to recreate all of the same jokes. And I think they avoided that, which is to this movie's credit.
Yeah, they've definitely, there are a couple little throwaway gags in there. Like there's a reference to Jesse Eisenberg's neighbor, who he was obsessed with in Zombieland 1.
Right, when he meets Madison. And then he's drinking Mountain Dew. They have like a huge supply of Mountain Dew Code Red.
Yeah, which is very funny. And then they also...
there's little nods like that.
Yeah, there's little nods, but they do definitely avoid like trying to recreate the exact same gags. So
they never mention the Twinkie, but on the grill of his car there is like a cowboy Twinkie.
Yes, yeah. So they make their car the Beast, and it's that. So.
Good job. Overall, I feel like if you were a fan of the first movie, if you want to see the sequel, go for it. Like I feel like it is worth seeing. It wasn't exactly what I wanted from this movie. It didn't do everything right, but I want to emphasize there's like a ton of huge laughs. Yeah. And like overall, it's a funny movie with a bunch of stuff that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it is not by any means a waste of time to see this movie, especially if you really liked the first one. It's a chance to spend time with characters that you like. So what's wrong, Like what's the matter with that? But don't laugh at me.
There's a couple things. No, it's fine.
There's a couple things wrong with that, I guess.
Well, that's Zombieland 2. That's what we think. Go ahead and let us know in the comments what you thought of Zombieland 2, provided you have followed our instructions and went and saw it before you watched this video. Hit us up on Twitter, those are around here. And subscribe to GameSpot Universe for more, what did I say? More stuff about the stuff you like.
More stuff about the stuff you like.